Alright guys, welcome back to this video. So this is going to be a part 2 to parameters since we forgot to cover one last thing. So we have covered a lot of the world scripts and world triggers and dealing with the overall overarching scripts, such as when a projectile touches a wall, that's a global event, or maybe units colliding with each other. That's a global event. But there's also entity events, and you will start to realize that some of these events, such as these three actually, you can write them inside of these entity scripts. So entity scripts are basically scripts that you write for a specific entity, and I believe we covered that in one of the earlier videos, but basically these scripts have no triggers and they automatically get a parameter assigned to them. So every entity script automatically has this entity as a free parameter. So this entity is the entity you put it underneath. So for example, this entity could be homie in this case. Or if I made a script underneath my projectile, then this entity would become the projectile. So here's what we can do. We can make a new script underneath the projectile, and let's call it projectile touches unit. So now projectile touches. Alright, so I believe it said this entity. So you'll notice that the naming is a little bit different. Instead of saying very vague things like, oh, when a unit touches a projectile, it says this entity is touching a unit. So it's more specific. And you'll see that this get, last touched, and triggering unit are given to you from the unit touching the projectile, but it doesn't tell you, but it's secretly also giving you this entity. So let's try this out. Let's send a chat message to the owner of the triggering unit. And as we talked about earlier, we can just say hello, and we can put in here owner. And the reason this works is because of the hierarchy of types. Every player or every unit is owned by a player. So because we know this fact, we can get the owner of this unit. And from the last video, just to clarify something, we had a arbitrary unit that was owned in this script right here. So we had an arbitrary projectile that was created. It's right here, arbitrary projectile. You'll see that it has no owner. That means the owner source item is undefined. So it's either somebody owns it or it's undefined. Nobody owns it. But you can always just think of undefined as a person, and undefined owns a lot of things. So now we have chat message for the owner. So only one person is going to get this, and it's just going to say hello. So now let's just check out the projectile. Oh, looks like that got changed. But alright, so now everything is saved and ready to go. We're in the game. And where is the fish? Hello, fish. There you are, fish. Alright. Whoa. Ah, fish just used our hello script. So now, whenever we touch the fish, we're going to create a projectile. And now, every time we touch this projectile, you already see in the chat, it's going to say hello each time we touch it. So go ahead and just touch this. And you'll see it said hello twice because we touched it in a way that kind of felt like 2 times. So look, let's keep track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 hellos, so there should be 6 after this one touch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now that means it's run once. And fish, go ahead and touch this projectile right here. Or sorry about that. Go ahead and touch that projectile. And you notice in the chat there's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It never changed, no matter how many times the fish is touching it. So this tells us that this script is working properly and as intended. So yeah, I just wanted to cover this small little thing about entity parameters because it's a little bit different and it's a newer thing that's added to mod.io from earlier versions. But it's really important because it shortens your code and you end up not having to write this script, or this script. You can write them in the entities themselves. And it also removes the confusion of trying to find a source item just to get a player. Instead, you can just get the owner of a unit that touched it.